What's after this charging us for breathing? Let's begin. Now, before I get into this, I'd just like to say a massive big thank you to everyone who's subscribed. We've now got over 20,000 subscribers, and therefore that means we've beat my girlfriend's challenge. So thanks guys, you are all legends. Well, it appears that the speed limit game just got a whole lot more thrilling. Obviously, of course you shouldn't really speed, however, it can be quite easy to accidentally go 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, especially if you're paying attention to the road ahead rather than the speedometer. So, remember the good old days when you could cruise at 10% plus 2 miles an hour over the limit without pooing your pants, thinking you might get a fine? Well, it seems as if that time has become as mythical as Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster. Now, of course, it's a question of whether this allowance is reserved exclusively for famous people. But here's the thing, a lot of us may find ourselves paying fines for a measly 1 miles per hour over the limit. I mean, can you imagine the absurdity of it all? I swear, officer, it was a momentary lapse. I didn't mean to try and break the land speed record by going 31 mile an hour in the 30 zone. It's kind of like getting a parking ticket because your car's shadow encroached on the no parking area, isn't it? And let's not forget the parliamentary group of 38 MPs and 20 peers who want to crack down on road safety. They're determined to stop us Brits from getting behind the wheel, surely, impatiently, disastrously, or worse, maliciously, because clearly going 1 mile an hour over the limit is the epitome of maliciousness, eh? No doubt next they'll more than likely have a problem if we try and outpace a snail. I mean, it's in their road justice report that they argue that speed limits and their enforcement represent the foundation of road justice. And that involves catching those ruthlessly speeders who dare to exceed the limit by a single mile an hour. It's like saying the fate on the world hinges on whether you've got one foot on the accelerator or not. And now, of course, we've got Richard Owen, Chief Executive of Allergis, telling us that speed cameras must be accurate to within 1 mile an hour. So prepare to be caught, stopped and possibly slapped with a fine for that dangerous 31 mile an hour sprint in a 30 zone, you little rebel you. It's like the speed camera has become your personal life coach, isn't it? Reminding you to stay perfectly within the boundaries. But of course, in the end, I think if it did go to court, not only would it probably get thrown out because they'd look silly, especially all over the news articles, but also they'd probably receive a mountain of cases going to court because of this. Although it does make me wonder if quite a lot of people just actually pay the fine rather than trying to fight it. And I'm not trying to say that speeding is a God-given right, it's not. People should stay within the limits, but just going 1 mile an hour over the limit and try to fine you or get money out of you for it, when that can be quite easy to do, is going a bit too far in my opinion. I just think there should be some sort of leeway, because going 31 is very different to going 37. One is presumably accidental, where the other one is on purpose, and that is the one which should really be charged in my opinion, not the 31 miles an hour. But anyway, the article says that Edmund King, president of the AA, said people should respect speed limits, but if drivers become too paranoid about speeding by a few miles an hour, it's not conducive to road safety. It's better to be able to see the cyclist on the left hand side of the road or pedestrian stepping out from the right rather than just trying to stare at a speedometer. He continued. A government spokesperson added, there are tough penalties and rigorous enforcement to crack down on motorists who break the rules, and we will consider the all-party parliamentary group's findings. Those who already have points on their licence or have committed more serious speeding offences will get a minimum of £100 fine and either 3 or 6 points on their licence. And the penalty can of course rise as much as £1,000 or £2,500 if you were caught on a motorway. Well, it looks like the good old folks at Barclays are up in arms about this pesky new 20 mile an hour speed limit. I mean, you can't blame them, can you? I mean, who wants to actually go slower than your grandmother's Sunday drive? It's practically an invitation to nap behind the wheel, isn't it, it seems? And now, of course, I've heard these limits are causing more problems than they actually solve. But hey, maybe the car manufacturers could save a few pennies by making cars with fewer gears. I mean, come on, who needs more than second gear when you're cruising along at the good old speed of 20 miles an hour? It's like you're driving a tortoise on a coffee break, isn't it? But of course, here's the thing. I mean, they try to push this as safety and no doubt, of course, part of the green agenda. But if anything, I reckon it's probably less environmentally friendly than one of my farts. Because driving slower, you're putting out more harmful fumes, as they like to say. But of course, they don't want to tell us that driving at a snail's pace is bound to be more harmful to the planet, do they? And in fact, if this continues, no doubt they'll probably all want us to apologise for our Sunday leisurely cruises. But the thing is, these modern cars out there all have safety features like automatic braking, where a kamikaze pedestrian just decides it's time to test your brakes for you. It's like having a human stuntman on standby, ready to save the day or carry out a random MOT test for you, isn't it? So no doubt, of course, Wales is fast turning into a place where cars are driving as slow as bicycles. You can see it now, can't you? People pedalling their hearts up to keep up with the cars. Honey, I'll race you to the grocery store. And of course, don't even get me started on the runners. No doubt soon they'll probably all have to put racer numbers on their back as they run past a few cars. But let's not forget about this petition with 400,000 signatures opposing this new limit. I mean, if anything, that's bound to be more signatures than the celebrities' autograph collection. And the best bit is that they say that this is bound to be because nobody bothered to fully explain what is slowing everyone down. It seems like the protest in Cardiff was quite a spectacle. People were airing their grievances about ULEZ, the ultra low emission zone, to clean air zone, the CAZ. It's like they're living in a world where the alphabet soup has gone rogue. I'll have a side up LTN with my ULEZ, please. But anyway, the article says that on Friday, Welsh Conservatives announced they will take a vote on no confidence against Deputy Climate Change Minister Lee Waters, who led the introduction of the new law. First Minister Mark Drakeford has strongly defended the policy was an election manifesto commitment. A Wales government spokesperson said the introduction of a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in mainly residential areas is designed to save lives and make our communities safer for everyone, including motorists. And it has been thoroughly researched, voted on and in the Schneid and received the backing of the majority of the Schneid members. Well, hold on to your hats, folks, because it seems that Barclays has got a new strategy. Saying cheerio to customers who dare to live abroad. I mean, really, who would have thought that banks of all places would turn their nose up at having more money in their vaults? It's like they're telling you, sorry, your money is not good enough. We prefer the crisp pounds of those who sleep on British soil. And of course, let's not forget, this move is as brilliant as, using a chocolate teapot in a hot summer's day. Because let's face it, not only would it be more money for banks to invest in the good old UK companies, but it's like they're cutting their noses off to spite their faces, isn't it? It's the financial equivalent of saying, I won't eat this delicious cake because I'm on a diet, even though I'm in a bakery. But the thing is, Barclays is presumably leading this sort of charge here. I mean, how many more banks are now going to follow suit? It's like a bizarre game of financial follow the leader. Oh look, Barclays did it, so let's close our doors on international customers as well and pretend they never existed. And don't even get me started on the idea that you might need to open an international account with hefty fees and rules just to access your own hard-earned cash. It's kind of like they're trying to buy a cup of tea in England with a suitcase full of Monopoly money, isn't it? You might as well just be speaking a foreign language. But here's the punchline. It's not just about rejecting customers. It's about customers losing access to their own pensions and savings as well. I mean, just imagine waking up one day to find out your bank that you have trusted for years has decided that you're no longer worthy of holding an account. I mean, we all know Nigel Farage knows how that feels, which in my opinion was totally wrong in the first place. But now they're possibly doing it just because you decide to live abroad. It's like they're trying to say, you can't have your cake and eat it, even if it is your cake. And let's not forget the absurdity of needing to open up an international bank account just to access your own money. It's like needing a treasure map and a secret handshake to withdraw cash from your own piggy bank. I mean, some banks even have the audacity to demand a minimum deposit of £75,000 for an international account. It's like they're saying, okay, we'll take your money back, but only if you can afford to buy a small country first. So what's the solution? Well, maybe it's time to start investing in mattresses to stuff all our money under. At least it won't kick us out for living in a different time zone. And as for Barclays and their fellow banking comedians, probably might want to consider a career change. I mean, I hear the circus is always looking for performers skilled in the art of financial acrobatics. But anyway, the article continues and says, if you're concerned, speak to Barclays before the change and see how it can help. It's also worth shopping around for different accounts first and making sure that you understand all the terms and conditions before switching. And if you feel that Barclays is closing your account unfairly, then you can claim to the Financial Ombudsman Service, and you can do this online via the FOS website. Well, there's surely more companies want to tighten the grip around our balls further. It looks like Aldi has joined in the fun in this video and actually made things a lot worse for us all.